G'day everyone, Jason Nunn from Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street at Warners Bay, your Newcastle Honda marine dealer. And of course Christmas just passed, New Year's Eve, next Tuesday night, in 2025, only around the corner. A real holiday theme at the present moment. Obviously we are not over at Warners Bay, we're having the next few weeks off. We do not return to work until Monday the 13th. And a lot of activity on the lake, but to my surprise today, very few people at Blacksmith's Ramp. I reckon there would have been maybe 8-10 cars max. And I went up to have a look at the sea itself. Northerly, definitely blowing out past the ship. So really around about that 30 to 40 fathoms, or around about 6-7 mile out. Definitely that northerly influence. But back in on the coast, it is that northwest, and probably predominantly northwest now, as we're starting to get that heat roll on through. That change tonight, guys, it's probably going to be in the very later part of today into the AM, where it comes around for a southwester and kicks in, dropping temperatures. Forecasts for next week look pretty encouraging, with southeast to maybe east winds right the way through till at least next Thursday at this stage, and not lots of swell till around about next Thursday. New moon comes through on Tuesday night. The tides for tomorrow, high tide just after 7 AM, around about 7:15, and the low tide 2:05 tomorrow afternoon. We'll start out wide. There's a lot of hot water pushing down out wide off Port Stephens at the moment, up to 26 degrees out off the bay in around about 500 fathoms. In on the car park where the striped mullet activity has been, it looks very good. Sort of 23.7, 23.8, maybe a tad higher in spots, but very little current, 0.2 of a knot on the car park, right the way down through the mids, and that upwelling still there. So there's the opportunity. Looking further afield, up the coast, up towards Southwest Rocks, virtually 25 to 26 degrees on the beach. So I don't imagine it will be that long before we start to see a lot of black marlin start to move coastally. No doubt we'll see then the presence of cobia and the like. The fat at the present moment, the water's been rolling over. We're getting a little bit of a south wind, and then all of a sudden it kicks around the east, northeast, and that's what's been happening. It's been rolling that water over. Only in around about 21.6 at best on the farm area. So the water's changing colour. There's not a lot of blue to it. So a week ago when we spoke, quite a few dolphin fish on the fad. At the moment, there are no dolphin fish on the fad. So we're getting this moving around. Spoke to one of the boys up at the ramp only moments ago. A few small snapper on the farm at present, but he made the same comment. Not a lot of consistency with the water temperature and or colour. However, there's a huge band of mutton birds in on that 30-35 fathom line, so there must be a lot of bait moving through there, and I don't think it'll be that long before you start to see even striped marlin in on that area. A lot of bonito coastally, but the schools have started to break up a bit, guys, so you're going to need to either burley hard or troll, and my tip is probably trolling divers more so than surface, say like feathers and little pink squids and the like, to get the best results. Still some nice snapper inshore and still some trag, and I think as we start to move into that next phase, that new moon come Tuesday, it will improve the offshore fishing out of sight. The beaches is where it's all happening, mull away on the beaches, but we're seeing good numbers of flathead and good numbers of whiting and brim on the beaches, so that real typical theme. So it gives you the advantage, fishing for your whiting and brim, bycatch of flathead through there. No tailor that I'm aware of at the present moment, but it looks good on the beach and obviously up on the breakwater. The highlight of this week, started Christmas night, is the prawn run. Just had a message from Mark Convery. He went out with the family, got a kilo of smallish prawns, but had some really nice fish prior to the run. Ended up with about 9 brim and a really nice whiting around 40 centimetres. So the brim at the moment in the estuary as a result of that prawn run, they're right the way through, in the lake in and around Nesca Park, but through the island area, right the way through, and a lot of brim in Salts Bay. But the trouble is a lot of these brim guys are school fish, around about 25, 23 really, some of them, up to around about 30. The odd better one, and the odd better one really being getting caught of an evening more so. I had a fish there a few days ago, found that same thing. A lot of small brim on the flats on that last of the run-in tide. Weren't lucky enough to catch any whiting, but got some very big tarwhine. In fact, the tarwhine in the channel at the moment bigger than the brim. 2 days later, I swung it all around, went back out and fished the last of the run out tide, got 4 beautiful whiting, a nice luderick, and again another small bream, but we're only there for a short term, only really had about an hour on it, but the whiting were there on that last of the tide. The water was probably 2.5 degrees warmer and they were biting immediately. So I think this is what you're going to start to see. It's the run out tide being the preferred. Still a lot of flathead through the system. When we come through the flats, we spooked a very big flathead. He'd have to be 90 centimetres or better, coming off only around about 2 or 3 foot of water. And you've got to remember that obviously flathead over 70 centimetres have to be returned. And at this point in time, it's critical because we're seeing a lot of spawning going on and there's a lot of small juvenile males mating in with a lot of these females. So some big flathead for those guys that want to do a bit of releasing up on the flats at the moment, and the last of the tide being the pick. Still a few kings in the lake, but there's some really good reports of mulloway. Spoke to my good mate Justin Worley through the week. They got 3 really nice mulloway, but marked them on a patch of bait and actually marked them all stacked up, live squid in, bang, straight away first drop. The squid will improve. You've just got to persist a little bit. I still think seaward side of the bridge on the back of this prawn run, but areas such as a drop over, probably Sticks and down towards Poolbar, Murray's after the run. So I really reckon the latter part of next week you'll start to see that increase in squid in the lake. Still enough time to get out there and put some pots out, 4 witches hats or 2 enclosed traps. Either is the way to go, but there are still a few blueies around, and those jennies, which were a problem probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, have waned off a little bit, so you do have that opportunity to get a few blue swimmer crabs. Guys, all in all, a bit of wind today, as you can see, and I think that's what put a lot of guys out from going offshore, but out wide marlin, in on the edge, probably around about 30 metres, 25-30 metres, bonito snapper. I think it's the estuary, that southerly coming through late tonight, and it should improve. Now, if you're going to try to navigate through Swansea Bridge of an evening, forget it. It is one side, Blacksmith side to Swansea, with people on that bridge. I reckon we counted 50 people up there on Christmas night. It is just absolute mayhem at the present moment. So just be careful if you're trying to move through Swansea Bridge of an evening. It's just almost impassable. Anyway, guys, I'll see ya in 2025. Enjoying this holiday and break, getting some fishing done. Hope you're doing it as well. See you next week.